Okay, people, I'm going to go through the process of importing 3D models into Unreal Engine 5 from Blender. Okay, let's start with opening Blender, Launchpad, second tab, Blender. I'm going to import a quite a complex model, the model I built in Blender, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So if we go to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and I created a specific file called Tottenham Hotspur UE5.blender. So I'm going to open that file. Now this is a Tottenham Hotspur Stadium which I created in Cinema 4D, then I recreated for Blender. And the file is quite complex. It's the exterior and interior, all the seats. It's approximately 60,000 seats, and yes, it's got everything in there that's needed. So what I had to do is that some of these seats were created using geometry nodes, a mixture of cloning and geometry node and instances. So where the seats go around in the curve, I've used geometry nodes, and where I've used where the streets are in a straight line, I've used cloning, instancing, or array. I use the array modifier. So it's geometry nodes on the curves. So I just show you that for an instance. Show you that for instance. Turn that off. That show you the face orientation, and if we go into geometry nodes, we can see the setup. Now, in order to bring this into Unreal Engine, we're going to have to, before it didn't have the realized instances in the geometry node, so I've added the realized instances so that when the file is imported into Unreal Engine, it will recognize the actual geometry. Without that, geometry would not be recognized without realized instances. So that has to be checked or added in the group. So this is just like a little step of how I've set the seats on the curve. So if we go back to layout, and also when we're bringing files in, we have to make sure that the normals are facing the right way. So if we go to here, face orientation, and it shows you that the normals are facing the right way. The blue is normals are facing you, towards you, and red it's facing away from you. So make sure that the normals are correct, which it is in this instance. Once you have done that, you're happy with your file, we could go to File, Export, and export FBX, and you just name it whatever you want to name it, and you export that file as an FBX file. Once you've exported the file, you could open up Unreal Engine and import that file in. So you're going to open up Unreal Engine. I'm going to go through, I've already imported this file into Unreal Engine, so I'll show you what my import looks like. But basically all you're doing is importing the geometry FBX file into Unreal Engine once you have Unreal Engine open. So I'm going to open up the project, and this is project number 31. So I'm looking for project number 31. There we go. Project number 31. Let's open it up.
At Genesis, centered around you means reflecting your every need. Like respecting your time by bringing service to your doorstep with complimentary valet pickup and courtesy vehicle
Now this
service.
is the Spurs Stadium actually imported into Unreal Engines.
Cost any of your
Already imported. But to import the file, what you have to do is go into you go into the content drawer, and you can create a new folder. I created one called model, and I've imported it. So you just go import. Then you will just drive to whatever. For instance, that stadium is already imported. So I'll go that and open that. Once you open that, you'll get your mesh, and there's a tab you have to click when you open a mesh called combine mesh, so that the mesh becomes through as one unit. So when importing files into Unreal Engine, which has many different objects within it, you have to combine the mesh as one. So this has already been combined as one, and you can see how it's imported. It's imported the materials as well, or you could add the materials afterwards, depending on how the model was built. Now I'm going to show you just by navigating around what the stadium looks like in Unreal Engine. So just using scale out. Cute. Scale it out. So this is the Unreal Engine. So you can hide that. You can see I've also imported separate parts within the model. So you can see like part of the stadium is the main stadium is that, which is imported as one. Then I had to add another bit of it just to give it a thickness so you could see the other side of it, because once you import a file into Unreal Engine, the reverse side of the normal becomes transparent. If you don't want it to happen, you could go into Blender and give it a slight thickness via the solidify modifier, and that will give it a slight thickness so that you can have the walls not be transparent on the normals. So some of the seats were also imported separately. So here you go. I'm just going to navigate around this model now. So if we just navigate around it.
Still 2 points away.
You can see that the exterior is done. Now in Unreal Engine, you could go into immersive mode or game mode. What I did to import it, I imported it within a game template. You could also have an ArcViz template, whichever format you want, template you want. But I used a game template for this one. So game view, go to immersive mode. That's like a full screen mode. So you can just see around the stadium. What I'm going to do is going to go into the nuts and bolts of actually importing the files on it. But this is just a general overview at the moment of how it looks in Unreal Engine coming from Blender. You can see that, so you could go into it. So once you've done that, you could zoom into the stadium and see what it's like with the seating. So you can look around and you can look up. This model took me about 3 weeks to complete. No, it was a bit of a long project. I had blueprints, and I was able to like construct it from blueprints and painstakingly build it, literally brick by brick, point by point. So if you zoom in here, you can zoom around, move around. Unreal Engine is fantastic for this sort of stuff. So you can see that. I still haven't come to grip with the materials yet in Unreal Engine. It's not displaying exactly as I would like. And some of the materials are still missing, so that is to be added. So if we go into here.
Commissania does a nice job using the slice and then setting his feet right here. Great balance as he sets up for that backhand, nice shoulder turn, good extension with the
This this model is quite complex. It's got millions of polygons, so it's quite complex in its nature. So it's going to zoom into the south stand and show you what it would look like if we were looking from the back of the south stand into the stadium. So we could just sit down a little bit lower. Just gone into the back of the stadium, so just
give his team a little smile right there. Just about.
Let's go down there.
Back to juice we go.
So you can see there's some seats missing here which I have yet to add. So these are additional seats which didn't come across because of the geometry node setup. So I'm going to go back and realize the instances and then add those missing seats here. That's the last remaining seats to be added in the stadium. So if you go here, go right here, you can zoom in here, zoom across here. And look. Like I said, Unreal Engine is fantastic for architecture stuff. It's just incredible, you know. So if we're going to go and take an overview of the stadium. If we look at the west stand. If we're going to Cochrane, there's where you could do the skywalk. So yeah, basically this is a Blender model created in Blender, and it's imported via FBX into Unreal Engine. So yeah, this is just like a very basic overview. Like I said, I'm going to go into some detail exactly how you will import this into Unreal Engine. So like a step-by-step guide of how I did it. So look forward to that in the future if you subscribe, and I'll gladly show you the process you need to go through to bring your models into, or detail models into Unreal Engine. So yeah, let's scroll across there. The this version of Unreal is very stable. It hasn't crashed on me at all since I've been using it. So this is Unreal Engine 5.3. I'm sure there's later versions of it than this, but this one is pretty stable for what I'm using it for. So that's the stadium from the outside. And if you just go above it. Like I said, it took many days, weeks to complete this model in Blender. And I had to go through and change some details just to get the seating in to work in Unreal Engine, because the way it was constructed, because I use geometry nodes in some of the seatings, it didn't import cleanly, so I had to go in there, create the seating as instances so that it would recognize the actual geometry. And once that was done, it was pretty straightforward to bring it in. So there you go. It's a lot of detail in here, and you can see, literally individual seat by seat.
Slight degrees, but just a little more intention behind those forehands.
If you go up
There's quite a bit for him.
and look around, and this is the interior view of the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, created in Blender and imported into Unreal Engine.